Okay, we're doing a catalytic converter on a 2015 ProMaster 3.6 6-cylinder. I'll tell you the steps I took to get it out, and I'll show you putting it in. Very first thing I did was separate the tie rod end. To separate the tie rod end from here, taking, I think it was a 19mm nut, give it a whack right here with a hammer. I separated that. And this, nicely enough, one of the cool things they did was give us a bolted in ball joint. And it bolts in. So I think those were 17s, I unbolted that. To separate the lower control arm, and then there's like a 42mm castle nut for the axle shaft. We separated that, and then we were able to pull this whole strut assembly. I had some help. Pull the whole assembly back to take the axle shaft out. This guy here. And this splined to the intermediate shaft, which was the next step we took. So that part of the job, the intermediate shaft, bolted up to the block here. And they're like 3 14 or 15mm bolts. Once I unbolted that, I was able to just tap the shaft right out of there, keep the bracket attached to it, and just rotate it on its way out. And we took the intermediate shaft out. And once that was out, I was able to get all the bolts, access to the top bolts really easy. Actually, before I did the top bolts, this bracket here attached to this part of the converter, and you'll see how that goes when we put it back in. So I took these nuts off the side of that bracket from the converter, took these off the engine block, took this bracket out of the way. That gave me access to the bottom bolts of the converter. The top bolts I was able to get with a long extension. So then the trick was getting it out. Originally, I thought it was gonna come out. I was gonna take this Y pipe down, but we got some stripped out nuts and stuff, and it was gonna come straight down, and that would work real fine. But I was having a problem here, and I figured I could get it out the side here. The factory cat was a little bit too thick, but what I found is the serpentine belt tensioner, which is right here, which is right there. This guy here, just took the belt off, and there's one nut. I took it out of the way, and that gave me enough clearance to rotate and spin the converter right out of this side window hole here. So now we're getting ready to start the reassembly process. So I got a direct fit converter, but the body's a little bit thinner, which makes it easier to slip back through here compared to taking the original one out. So that's nice. So one of the things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this oxygen sensor in the top of the converter first, because it's easier to do it with the converter out than when it's up in the car. I can't do it that way. That's a good way to hang it right there. So I'm literally going to hang the converter in position, just putting it on the studs of this flange right here. And from that position, I'm just going to put these nuts on loosely, so I can try and line up the bolts up top of the gasket. Put the brackets back in. I'm hanging the converter on the flange, and then I can Start putting the bolts and the gasket in up there loosely. I'm gonna leave it loose so I can put this bracket back into position. The gasket that comes with it has these serrated parts on it that the bracket bolts go through. So it seems like I can slip this up between the converter and put it in position, put it in loosely, and then get these bolts in loose and then start snugging stuff up and see if that works. Okay, so I hung it here. The bottom back bracket bolts are nice and loose so that I can get the top bolts. I don't know if you can see them. With a long extension, I can see the bolt holes from this position. I'm gonna use a real long extension, start those bolts. And these are 10mm bolts. Run them in by hand so they don't cross thread anything. This one's actually got an arrow in the bracket pointing up. Tell you which way to mount it. So here's where we're going to find out if the aftermarket stuff fits properly. Again, everything's loose, so I can get some jiggling around to start all my bolts. And there's one. Okay. Two brackets for the bolts for the block started. Okay, we started by hanging the converter on the flange, and we put the top bracket and gasket and let the converter drop in the top or on the bottom bolts. And we went over the subframe here and got the two bolts on the top with a long extension, and then we put that bracket, and then all of it is just hand tight. So now I can go around and tighten everything up. Oh, the car is? Yeah. Okay, let's try finagle this intermediate shaft back. Oh, I'm just trying to get the intermediate shaft back in. Okay, well that went in nice. A while back. Top might not be quite so easy. What's that?
There's nothing wrong with the car.
Well, it did something. I'm guessing that it was a transmission through the vent tube. I mean,
Something like that.
I'm sure they're familiar with their car. Like,
Yeah.
They're like, well, I know it leaks oil here and it leaks diff fluid there, but this is something different. So they're aware of all the other leaks on the car.
I thought, you know, I'd see some like rubber lines up in the middle, cracked up or something.
Okay, intermediate shafts in.
Wrapping in the living room.
First things first. Go on. Yet. And then?
Yeah.
So.
They fucking stop
Okay, so this is the fun part. That was a tight one. Okay. I think so. Yep. Whew. Doesn't need to go very far. Just need to get that ball joint. Yeah. All that fun stuff. Just getting this axle to go into here. And line up these 3 bolts on the ball joint, which is only goes one direction.
Marvin tormented me, just called, you know, just called around. So he wants to do a, couldn't decide he wanted to go stick, he wants to do an overdrive. You know, started to get prices for, you know, for a 700R. So one training shop he talked to, well, you know, it's better, you know, to do a 200R. I'll go, yeah, you know, the dick could be built to handle 1,000 horsepower. It's a lot of units. So, trying to gain prices, but one dude quoted him 65.
Wow.
Yeah. So I go, dude, now think about this. You're going to spend almost $7,000 to gain one gear.
Well, yeah, but that gear makes a big
Right.
difference on the
Yeah.
highway, dude.
So he, you know,
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Well, not $7,000, but
right. So he was, you know, playing around. So another guy, you know,
hard barking gears, or if you want it, you know, just smooth and regular.
right. So he's, you know, he's getting prices for that. You got the 12 volt already at the house, 373 gears.
21. Is that right in? That sounded like about 40 foot-pounds to me. Now, you got the monster. This axle at 45 millimeter. Everybody's got one of those in their toolbox.
oh yeah. One. That's the one that didn't even break, right?
Tensioner.
This one was tight, right?
Huh? Yeah, I didn't take it out. That's why I avoided it, because that one was rounded.
Okay.
I didn't want to snap it off. Okay. Tensioner is key. So, now I just gotta remember how to belt went. tensioner on. Ran the belt. Make sure it's all slotted in its grooves properly. The routing. And fire it up. Check for leaks. And that should be that. Fix them. Have fun with that.